And so with the Easter weekend now upon us, we have a quick fix of Championship action coming at us, a full fixture list coming on Friday as well as Monday, so plenty of stuff at both the top and bottom of the table could change over this weekend. We're doing the predictions a day early as we have that full fixture list coming on Friday, and I for one cannot wait to jump into this weekend after the bonkers nature of last time in the Championship. So as always, I want to get your guys' thoughts on everything in the comments down below. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, but without any further ado, let's jump into it. And starting out with the early fixture, we are heading to the Den for Millwall up against Luton, a massive game which could have consequences on the top 6 race. Now, it's Luton who are in the slightly more comfortable position at the moment in the top 6 with more points on the board, but both teams going well at the moment. Obviously, Millwall came back with that solid point away at West Brom, which I certainly don't think can be sniffed at, and Luton must be riding high on confidence after that win against Watford. Pretty comfortable in the end, 2-0, but Watford didn't really threaten all too much. And what we can say about this Luton side throughout the season so far is they just don't lose a lot of football matches. Only Burnley so far have lost less than they have. Millwall have been really strong at the Den, and thinking back to the reverse fixture between these two earlier in the season, which wasn't actually too long ago, it was quite an end-to-end game where Luton twice came back from behind to draw 2-2, and this has a similar sort of feeling to it where I don't think there'll be a million miles between these two, and I'm sort of edging towards a draw, I think. Score prediction for this one, I think I'm landing on a 1-1er between these two, but either team sneaking it by one wouldn't surprise me. Next then to Rotherham up against West Brom, two sides fighting for very different things at the moment, but a game which I don't see being that much between the two sides. The problem that West Brom have found recently, and this was probably emphasised in that goalless draw with Millwall, is consistently hitting the back of the net. In their last 6 Championship matches, the Baggies have only scored 5 goals, and that's been a real problem for them in killing off matches of late. In the situation they are in, trying to make up ground on the teams above them, draws aren't doing them too many favours at the moment, and this is certainly a game where I think West Brom need to be winning to properly keep their top 6 hopes alive and get them in that playoff picture, particularly with every possibility that, you know, one of Millwall or Blackburn also drops points on Friday. From a Rotherham perspective, the problem they have at the moment is that Huddersfield are banging form after back-to-back wins. They've massively closed that gap between them and the teams above them, and Rotherham are in one of the danger spots at the moment, along with Cardiff, of dropping into the bottom 3. Like I said, I don't think there's going to be much in this. It was a good structured defensive performance from Rotherham against Hull last time out, but not offering that much going forward, and I just think that maybe West Brom sneak this one on the road. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 1-0 West Brom, but another game where there's going to be fine margins in. Next then for Blackburn up against Norwich. It does feel a little bit now or never for Norwich in terms of a playoff push. They're 4 points off the top 6 at the moment, with Blackburn occupying that place in 6th in the Championship, and with Norwich having failed to win their last 4 Championship matches, if they don't pick up something from this game against Rovers, and dare I say all 3 points, I think it's tough to see them then bridging that gap. From a Blackburn point of view, it wasn't a great return to action, and they're going to need some sort of bounce back in this one against the Birmingham side at the weekend, who themselves didn't offer that much, but Blackburn failed to break them down, and the second half just looked like a really frustrating watch. And once again, it was another instance of when Blackburn concede first, they go on to lose the game. So Norwich have to take something from that game, albeit I don't think they've been particularly great since they got that brilliant win away at Millwall, which feels like ages ago now. Score prediction in this one, do you know what, just to keep things interesting around the top 6, I think Norwich could sneak this one. These two have already played 2 times so far this season, and Blackburn have won on both occasions, both in the reverse fixture in the league and in the FA Cup, but something could be in the air for Norwich to get a little bit of something back on them in this game. Score prediction, 2-1 Norwich, but I'm not massively confident in that. After that, we then go to Bloomfield Road for Blackpool up against Cardiff, and two sides who are looking to bounce back from a miserable weekend last time out. Blackpool with a Derby Day loss against Preston, and Cardiff with a similarly bitter pill to swallow, probably even more so, losing it in the 99th minute against Swansea. Two teams who still have it to play for. I know I've not given Blackpool Blackpool a great chance of survival, but mathematically so it is still possible, especially if they do pick up maximum points from their remaining home games. And from a Cardiff perspective, it's Huddersfield who they have to worry about at the moment. After that game against Rotherham was postponed, to come back to action with a bitterly disappointing loss against your local rivals, it does leave them in a dangerous position at the moment, but they've got no time whatsoever to feel sorry for themselves, and I'm really not sure how I see this game going. Blackpool I thought were really poor in the first half against Preston, but in the second half I actually think they got it right in terms of Bowler, Poveda, Patino on the pitch, and they do have players who can produce something in the final third, but it just feels like McCarthy to begin with hasn't been a great fit for this squad of players in at Blackpool, and whether or not he can pull something off against his former side, it remains to be seen. Score prediction here, a draw wouldn't surprise me, but I think Cardiff could just about edge what I anticipate to be quite a low quality game of football really. Score prediction there, I'm going to go 1-0 Cardiff, which really could be the final nail in Blackpool's coffin. After that, for QPR up against Preston, and the general trend of QPR in 2023 coupled with the remaining fixtures that they've still got to play, it really doesn't make for great reading. We spoke about the importance of that game back from the international break against Wigan and how big it was, not just from a results point of view, but a potential momentum swinger if they did manage to pick up something from that game. And the way they just capitulated so early on, giving away the early penalty and not having enough quality to get back into the game, I really am starting to fear for QPR, particularly with how Huddersfield have picked up in recent weeks. Have to be said, I think Preston we have to be fancy on our chances for this one. We've been on, generally speaking, a really good run of form if you discount that result against Middlesbrough. Back from the international break with an emphatic 3-1 home victory against Blackpool, our bitter rivals. And it was a clinical display. Tom Cannon continues to deliver the goods, and a couple of other great strikes from Ben Whiteman and Brad Potts as well. Score prediction in this one, I fancy Preston for another win, you know. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 2-1 Preston to compel the misery in at QPR. After that, for Reading against Birmingham, two sides who there's not been a million miles between so far this season, and they've somewhat mirrored each other's seasons with quite a positive start and then a regression towards the mean. From a Reading perspective, they absolutely need to take advantage of their remaining home fixtures from now until the end of the season. They are in the privileged position now where 4 of their last 7 matches are at home, and that has been their strong suit so far this season compared to their record on the road. But Birmingham have shown a slight improvement recently, back-to-back clean sheets and back-to-back 1-0 victories, and Birmingham have done well at being on the right end of some of those tight margins recently. Only one of Birmingham's last 6 matches has had more than 2 goals in it, which speaks to how tight all of their games have been, and I anticipate this one to be another one where there's not that much between the two of them. Reading had that draw last time against Bristol City, but they really could do with a win on the board, especially in their home games, like I said, but I feel like this one could be heading towards a draw. Score prediction there, I'm going to go for a 1-1 between those two, which isn't massively beneficial for Reading. After that, to Brom Lane for Sheffield United up against Wigan, and I'm sure that every Blades fan is just breathing a little bit more comfortably after that weekend. With Middlesbrough dropping points and you taking maximum advantage of that game against Norwich, just makes the promotion picture a little bit more comfortable in at the top, especially with that game in hand still to come. Another game here which I think we'd all expect Sheffield United to be the overwhelming favourites. However, Wigan have proven to be quite a tough opposition for a few sides recently. Only their second win under Maloney at the weekend, but they have been quite draw heavy under him so far and have taken points off, you know, plenty of sides above them. From a Wigan point of view, it does feel as if that 3-point deduction could have been the death of them in the end, because had it not been for that, they'd only be 2 points off safety right now. I know that both Cardiff and Rotherham still have that game in hand to play as well, but that extra 3 points really could have just tips Wigan over the line, especially if they do end up going down by, you know, a margin of less than that in the end. Score prediction here, I think Wigan will keep it tight, but I back the Blade for another win in this one. I think 2-0 Sheffield United. I think a lot of people fancy them to get over the line from this point. After that, for Stoke up against Bristol City, and everything is going Stoke's way at their moment. Alex Neil has found the perfect formula. Loved that performance from the weekend against Coventry, a game which most people I think expected them to lose or maybe get a point from given the way they were going, but full credit to Alex Neil. It really feels like he's established a coherent system that's, let's be honest, been missing from this Stoke side ever since they've been relegated to the Championship. championship, but this recent run of form has really given them a bit of hope for going into next season and what this team could go on to achieve. I think I fancy them as the favourites in this game, albeit Bristol City can make it tricky for them. Bristol City, another one of those sides who are sort of in limbo, mid-table in the championship right now, where the flip-flops could come on for these last few games of the season as there's not too much to play for. It was a draw last time against Reading, but I think I fancy Stoke in this one for all 3 points. Score prediction there, going to go 2-0 Stoke. Swansea against Coventry. Now this game has just been completely flipped on its head because of the recent round of results. Prior to that, I would have definitely been on Coventry's side, backing them for all 3 points, but it just felt like that Derby Day win for Swansea, for Russell Martin especially, was absolutely huge to get the Swansea fan base back on side, because it did feel like things were starting to get a little bit toxic with how inconsistent things have been in 2023. But what better way to get everyone bought back into the project than a 99th minute winner against your bitter rivals? And I have to say, Swansea probably fancy their chances now against the Coventry side, who looked lost at sea at Stoke last time, and they were out in that 4-0 loss. Now it has to be said that Coventry still in with a good shout, I do think, of the top 6 if they completely manage to get that game against Stoke out of their system. It's two quite quick fire back-to-back games over this Easter weekend now. But Swansea, I suddenly think, will be playing with a little bit more of a hop in their step. Don't get me wrong, I still think there's a lot of vulnerabilities in that Swansea backline that Coventry especially can take advantage of with their attacking threats, but momentum's a weird thing in the Championship, and I actually think I fancy Swansea for this one all of a sudden. Score prediction here, going to go 2-1 Swansea, which would be a massive dent to Coventry's top 6 hopes. And is the survival push back on now for Huddersfield? I think there's every chance that they make this 3 wins on the bounce, you know. Looking at their fixture list on paper when I did that relegation prediction video, I think that Huddersfield had the toughest set of fixtures out of each of the sides, but to have come through those last 2 games, especially that emphatic 4-2 win against Middlesbrough, but their last 2 games with all 6 points, anything's possible for Neil Warnock, it seems, and somehow he's got a real tune out of this squad recently, made them more resilient and got a little bit more about them in the attacking third. From a Watford point of view, I was really quite disappointed with the showing they put in against Luton last time. For Wilder to have had that extra time with the squad to work on a few more things to muster up the performance they did, I think it speaks to how inconsistent and poorly run they've probably been throughout this entire season. And going up against a side in Huddersfield who probably don't have as much quality as they do, but probably want it that extra bit more at the moment, I can actually see Huddersfield getting the result here. Score prediction, why not? 2-1 Huddersfield on the road, I'm saying, which would surely end Watford's top 6 hopes. After that, for Sunderland against Hull, it was a little bit of a frustrating one for Hull last time out. That goalless draw that they had up against Rotherham had more of the attacking momentum, but ultimately didn't have any attacking quality to get anything over the line, and that's been a little bit of a frustration in at Hull, that lack of goals there, especially in this second half of the season. Sunderland themselves coming off the back of a goalless draw, albeit away at Burnley. I certainly think there are more positives that they can take from that game, and in terms of how I see these two sides facing up against each other, it is Sunderland who I'm fancying to edge what's probably going to be quite a tightly contested battle. Hull don't tend to ship up that many opportunities to the opposition, but I just see Sunderland having a little bit more about them and that slight bit more clinical edge about them in the final third, and because of that, I'm going to go 1-0 Sunderland in this game to just get that 3 points. And then to round things off for the Friday fixtures, we've got Middlesbrough going up against Burnley, and it does feel as if maybe that was the first nail in the coffin for the automatic race being sealed up, with Borough losing this weekend and Sheffield United winning. That 6-point gap now, with the Blades obviously having a game in hand as well. But you never know, we've seen unlikely comebacks happening in the past, and what a way to return to the Riverside for a game against Burnley. Has to be said that neither side were at their best during the return to action after the international break. Burnley not quite having that clinical edge about them in the final third against Sunderland, that game fizzling out in the end towards a 0-0 draw, and Middlesbrough with the shocking result losing against Huddersfield in the end, shipping 4 goals in the manner of which they did. Now, to be fair to Middlesbrough, one of their strongest suits under Michael Carrick has been their bounce back ability, and each game they've lost in the Championship under Carrick, they've immediately followed it up with a win, and usually an emphatic win in that as well. They've also got a great home record. They're yet to lose in the Championship under Carrick, and if Burnley were going to lose any game from now until the end of the season, away at Middlesbrough is one potential banana skin where I could see that being the case. It depends on which side shows up for this one really, but just to make it a little bit more interesting at the top, and for the sake of me never backing against Burnley, I'm going to go 2-1 Middlesbrough in this game, but that one's as good as anyone's guess. But guys, there we have it. That will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Plenty of championship action coming up over these next few days with the relentless fixture list as we do get into the business end of this season. As always guys, if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stay subscribed for some regular championship content. Apart from that, I'll see you all in the next one.